All right, welcome back to MGD 2085. Today, the target here is Section 3. Let me share that with you here. Is Section 3, adding transitions and titles in cut page. This is the very quick and dirty way of doing all this stuff here. The transitions are unbelievably easy to do with DaVinci Resolve in the cut page and the edit page as well, but we'll get to that here in a little bit. And then we're going to touch on a very basic way of adding some text into your video and how to animate that a little bit better. And then at the very last thing, we're going to add a Fusion title. And Fusion is the code word for After Effects, but yet in the DaVinci Resolve speak. So, okay, we'll see you guys in a couple of seconds. Cool. Okay, here we are continuing on. So, we're at Section 3, adding transitions and titles in the cut page, the simple way to do things right here. This is a very abbreviated version of how to do the transitions here. So we're going to cover Skill 20, Skill 21, and 22. And just briefly go over where things kind of live and the 3 easy ways of adding a transition to things. So first off, here we are back where we left off with Section 2. And I'm going to bring up the keyboard here because there's going to be some important parts about this. But as you see right now, we're in the media pool, right? So when we come over here, the transitions live here, but you don't necessarily have to get out of the media pool to add a transition, and we'll touch base on that in a second. So all kinds of transitions here. Most used, obviously, would be a crossfade, cross dissolve transition here. And I'm at the very beginning of all these sets of clips in this sequence. So let's come over here closer to... Remember that little white arrow I told you about? Yeah, that's when this is going to come in handy. So in order to add a transition, you just have to be near one of these. You don't have to be right on it like you do in Premiere Pro or anything. But there's 3 little kind of automatic dissolve controllers. The one, this guy here, is used the most, obviously, and it corresponds with a keyboard key down here. I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me bring up just the keyboard real quick and show you these 3. So this is the cut, which will remove a transition after you put it in. This is the standard cross dissolve hardwired button, and this is a Smith cut button that you can use or assign to things. Right now it's assigned to a smooth cut, which is kind of wavy. But back to the screen here, and those 3 buttons correspond up here: cut, cross dissolve, and Smith. And then these 3 little guys over here is just you put whatever standard cut you have put on. You see that little red mark? That means it's the standard cut, and you can assign that to anything just by simply right clicking and then click down and say set as standard transition. We all like the cross dissolve, so we're just going to leave that be. So what are these 3 guys here about? Well, this is to add a transition at the beginning of a clip. And you just kind of got to be a little bit near the beginning of the clip here. Click on that, boom, it adds it right there. So if that were the first clip in the series, that would make sense to do that. So you are easing into it, just like everybody else. Going down the path here, we're just near it, we're not anywhere on it. Say we're just a little, maybe over halfway. And we want to add the standard transition to here. We can click on that. Or we can click here, or we can click down here on the keyboard. Pretty much all there is to that. So moving on, we can come over here to this next one. Let's play around with previewing some transitions. Now most of these I think are kind of cheesy personally, but that's only because I remember what things were like in the 80s with video editors. This was like the sin of all sins of cuts, the barn door transition. There was a thing called the video toaster that worked with a computer called an Amiga back then. And that was bad news. Welcome back to Save Us from the 80s. No. Okay, but there are some other nice ones here. The slide, it could be nicely used, especially with cars and outside and things like that. The heart, probably not. But at any rate, there's just lots to choose from and play with. Wonder what warp does. Ooh, oh yeah, dream sequence right there, baby. Okay, well that's pretty much it for the transitions. So I think we're going to leave it here for now and move on to what do we got? Let's go back here and have a look. Where are we? We are right here at 22. I'm going to go ahead and enter here, and we'll come back with the inspector panel, which you would know in Premiere Pro as the adjustment panel. At any rate, thank you very much. Okay, moving on here to skills 23 and 24, which is looking at the inspector or the effects panel in Premiere if you like. And we're going to look at this guy here. We're going to look at how to customize a transition here. So let me get out of this and back into the business end of all this. So an interesting thing to remember about transition is you need some room to put the transition in. So if you look over here at this clip here where it's kind of gone out as far as it goes, you can see the red. That means it can't get any bigger at all, but you're going to have some room for it to hold a transition. The transition's got, if it's going to be both-sided, for example, if you put that in there, it's got to be both-sided, all right? Or excuse me, it doesn't have to be both-sided, but it's got to have room for it. So if we can come over here and cut this out here real quick and move this back. So you see when that turns red and I try to put a transition here, it kind of blinks red and green. That lets us know that there's no room left for it. So just to make things easier, let's make a little room here and just quickly see if a transition will fit. Okay, so it'll fit. So why I was doing that was to double click on this guy, dip to color dissolve. Give that a double click, magically puts it in here in place. So we go up to the inspector up here in the upper right hand corner. Super powerful piece of equipment that I am still learning about. Okay, so I'm going to put the playhead over here in the middle, and this will tell you everything. This should all look very familiar for you here to tell us where we can zoom in and zoom out of a video. That's always good to know. How it links together as far as the aspect ratio goes, where if you zoom in and zoom out, its height and width come along with it. I'm not going to go through all this stuff here. Again, summarizing, not teaching. Cropping, that's a good one. You just click on them to open it up. Woo, woo, woo. Okay. So global reset. Global reset. Back to normal here. So what I was kind of getting to on this is if you want to come over here and you click on transition, you can pick what kind of transition. You can change it from here. You can pick how long the transition lasts, which also is a key on the mighty keyboard here too, called transition duration. Let me show you that really quickly. Okay, right here, transition duration. So again, that's one of those things that if you were doing something slow and you wanted a nice slow transition, you don't have to take your hands and put it on the mouse. You could do that with the keyboard. So anyway, I think we're at 24 or 25 frames a second here, obviously. And so if you could really get down and adjust the frames, how you want to align the transition, again, just if it's one side, if you had to have that entire clip right there, for example, you could have just the transition on the back side of the other clip or the front side of the other clip. You know, however you need to do it, you'll still get a nice transition out of it. You can ease them in and ease them out. That should sound familiar to those that you are used to the keyframes. There's a transition curve to this. I don't think I want to mess with that right now, and neither did the instructor of this course. So unfortunately, see, this was a smooth, or this was a dip to, this is why I did this, dip to color dissolve. So again, all the same things at places we can put it, but one of the cool things was this is a special deal. We can give this a click and come down to the color wheel, or however you want to look at it, and pick a color that you think you'd like to have it dip to, as opposed to, just for fun, let's have it dip to something we can really see, and come back and hit their play around. Oh, say okay. Okay, play around. Again, play around, super handy. Back to where it goes. You just hit the / key. It's actually labeled play around. Quick, easy preview. Okay, we didn't like that, so let's go ahead and put it back on black. Boom. Black. Black, black, black. There we go. Okay. So just to make sure it did what it's supposed to do, play around, dip to black. All right, that's all there is to for this section of things, for the customization of a transition. And you can even change whatever transition you want to put in there without having to go through and redo all that. Again, importantly, you can stay in the media pool here, put transitions in with the keys, put transition in with the interface here. You got the 3 there, easy transitions. And I think we're going to leave that section here for now. All right, see you in a minute. All right, so here we are for the last 3 skills of section 3, where we're going to kind of add some very basic titles and animate them a little bit, kind of the poor man's version of animation. And then we're going to show a Fusion title. And Fusion is the DaVinci Resolve code word for After Effects, if we're familiar with that. So let's get rid of this and come over here and try it out. So here's the very beginning of our sequence. And so let's go over here to titles. And the top titles here where it just says titles, and these 6 that are up here are just really simple titles. There's nothing to it. Basic title. They're not kidding. So in order to get started with this, we literally just come up and grab it and drag it down. And there we go. Maybe we'll make it a little bit shorter just to get the idea there. So in order to, let's change some things on here. Very similar to the transitions. We come up to the inspector, and you can see here that we have the words basic title, and that we can come over here and change the font family, the font face, the color of the title, the size of the things, just everything that you are used to and can ordinarily do. So let's like this, bread. Bread. Okay, so maybe a little bit better font for that guy. As I scroll through the fonts, it gives me a real-time version of them. Bread, one of my favorite fonts. There we go. So they call that font Phosphate, and I use that for my thumbnails all the time. Color, maybe a little bit better. How about something a little redder? Let's come over to our color wheel here. I like that red. And we make it a little bigger. There we go. All right. And of course, there's many more things to do here. And if you're gonna do a true animation in, here's the position and the zoom and all that stuff in for doing that. You can do a drop shadow. I thought that was kind of cool. And again, you can do the offset here. Just kind of give it an idea. Let's do that in touch. Maybe bring it down there a little bit. There, that looks pretty good. For a quick and dirty title, what'd that take me? 15 seconds. And let's jump out of here, and now we have ourselves a title. And it's a little abrupt. So there, kind of poor man's version of animating this and easing it was to come up here, and you can come on top of this and add a, just like you can on any other piece of video, a transition. Cross dissolve, cross dissolve. So it appears that the whole thing eases in very nicely. So there we go. It comes into our shot. Bread. And then out of our shot. Very simple, very easy. So, and the other one is here's my ending's a little short for this, but you see when we come up here to the end of the video there, it's got like the receipt tape on it. So we are here, and what we can do, so since we got cross dissolve already selected, we can come down here and say apply to the end of that. Are we? Or not? There we go. Just click right on it. So we have our nice cross dissolve out. Yeah, we like that. And now let's just put this over here for the meantime. Go back to our titles, and then come down. If you notice, they have the fusion titles. Now these we can animate these guys too. There. What are we doing? Yeah, there's a sample text one. There's a better one I kind of liked in here. Alright, let's try that one out. And I'm not going to mess around with it too much because it operates much the same as the other guy does. So we can there. Alright, let's play that around and see what it looks like. Alright, so obviously we can go in here into the inspector with that bit of text highlighted, and you get all the same and more versions of what colors you want things to do, all about the animation. Very nice, very easy, much easier than trying to do something like this with modifying a piece of After Effects. This is all right here, one button, and of course so you can save these as well. So that pretty much wraps up section 3 for titles, transitions, and we'll be moving on to section 4 here in a little while. And thanks a lot. All right. Welcome back to MD 5 today. The part here is Sect 3, which is the titles, and this is their current also here. The transition we use with a little bit. And we're going to touch on and we're going to get a little bit better at the very last, we're going to add a Fusion code word for After Effects. You can resolve DaVinci Resolve Speak. So, okay, we'll see. You guys. Guys, in a couple of seconds. Okay, we are continuing on. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on here to scale. So I see we're going to get 3 basic titles, and then I need to look at the form and the version of the Fusion title. You see, I'm just looking for so that's try it out. So I'm getting a number 2. In order to get